Hello, we're live. Hi guys, this is Gio from Smart Home Makers. We have here a special guest. We have Mark from Mark Watt Tech. Today we're going to have a chat with him and we're going to talk about Home Assistant, tech, and basically answer any of your smart home questions related. So we're eager, we're ready to go. It's just starting out the week. It's Monday, it's cold here in the UK. Let us know where you are actually currently watching this from. But we're both UK based, so luckily we're in the same time zone. Here it's 9:37. So let's get going. Mark, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah. So I'm Mark from Mark Watt Tech. I'm sort of a new YouTube channel, just started at the beginning of the year. I'm just rolling with it. I sort of do smart home, home assistant, just all things tech really. My sort of goal is to help new people that want to learn about smart home and technology, just learn the basics and then help them improve. But also people that are more advanced, I also want to make stuff for those guys. Just a broad range of everything. Get everyone using tech and smart home stuff. That's my sort of goal.
That's cool. That's cool. And you started out with Raspberry Pi, right? How did that go when you got that installed, and is it working fine for you?
Yeah, so I've had like Raspberry Pis like pretty much since the first Raspberry Pi, just doing all kinds of projects with it. And then it sort of seems to be the starting point for most people with Home Assistant, because Raspberry Pis are easy to come by. They're relatively cheap, and they run it really well. So yeah, I've got it on there, and for me, it runs perfectly fine. I've done a couple of videos recently, just again for new people, get them started using just a Raspberry Pi.
Awesome, awesome. So let's check in who's joining us this evening. We have Mashay. Hi man. We have Jeff from Ohio.
Mostly Chris is here. Hey, Chris.
Yeah,
that is a D7, yeah.
yeah.
Benito.
Here we go. We've got Chris. Hi, Chris. We've got also Lewis from Everything Smart Home. Hopefully, I didn't get the name wrong. Fingers crossed. But so we've got a couple of fellow YouTubers also in the house today. So in case we get anything wrong today, you know, they're gonna jump into the chat and correct us immediately. You guys are lucky. We've got a few experts here. So let's just talk about that robot vacuum there in that corner. That it's a you had to sort of change it up, right, recently with some.
So yeah, that's it. With the latest update for Home Assistant, the integration, it didn't break, but it changed. So Neato now want you to use the OAuth 2 method. So that was a bit of a change, and it's probably a bit more. It's a bit tricky if you're, say, sort of not super technical, because there's a couple of extra steps. So I did like a little guide on that to try and simplify it a little bit. But before, you could just sort of go into your integrations, click Neato, username and password, and you're basically done. So there's a little bit more to it now, but yeah, it's the Neato D7. It's okay. It works pretty well. I'll probably maybe do like a little review of it, because I've had it for a couple of months now.
Yeah,
I upgraded from sort of a cheaper robot, and there's some stuff that it does really well. And when it works, it's awesome. And when it doesn't work, it's such a pain. It drops off the Wi-Fi quite a lot. But with Home Assistant, this is quite a cool one. I've got it linked up with Home Assistant and the Amazon Echo. I won't say her name because she's just behind me. So
she's going to be triggering everywhere worldwide, right?
Yeah, but so you can say like go and clean. So once it's mapped your house out, you can say like go and clean this room, and it will like go to the kitchen or your dining room.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I might do a little video or something to show that off, because that's one of the best things it does. So yeah, you can individually target a room, or you can link that in with your automation. So when you go out, you want it to clean, say like a room that's in constant use, like your living room or something.
And how much does it cost?
It's quite expensive. let's have a look how much it is on Amazon now. I think usually it does retail for about 400, but you can get it in sort of sales, like way cheaper. I got it on a Black Friday, and I'd returned my other vacuum. Before that, I had the Bagot or Bagotti. I'm not sure how you say it, but it was a BG 800, and
Okay.
that couldn't really like link into Home Assistant.
So we've got Chris saying, if you've done the Nest integration, the Nero is a piece of cake, which is sort of a really good point, actually. Was it easy to do, the integration, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. There is documentation for it, and it is just a case of follow the documentation. Amazon says it's about £518.
Okay, 500. So there are like some that are even 1,000, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you could say it's middle of the range. My Eufy Robovac, I purchased that for £230, and I've had it for a couple of years, and it's gone through a baby and a toddler, tossing it around, flipping it over, picking up Legos. It's in bad condition, but sort of still working. So I'm tentative to invest in something a bit more expensive, just because it's just going to get hammered in my place.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've got a husky, and this picks up the husky hair. Like this thing has to go out constantly. So as well as the we got a shark hoover as well. So that and the shark, like just to stay on top of the husky fur, like yeah, very fluffy dog.
Cool. We have also Loonblab. He's saying same with Roborock. Is that the integration, or was that the price?
That's the other brand of smart home vacuum, isn't it? I think.
Roborock, yeah, Roborock.
Yeah. I think some of the sort of those mid-range ones have that feature where you can map your house out and then direct it where to go. They can do multiple floors as well, but I don't really use that. But yeah, it is a thing.
Well, I think with the voice, that's what he's mentioning. So it's got the same feature. I think when you said you can activate the voice assistant.
Oh yeah. I think it is quite a common feature for sort of the mid-range ones. Some stuff it doesn't do so well. There's not a bin sensor on it, so like it doesn't tell you that it's full. The way that the Neato ones work is after it's done, I think it's a certain amount of time, it then just pops up like a message on the app to say, hey, change the bin. It doesn't actually know the level of the bin.
Oh, okay. And are you able to figure out which room it did? So let's say for instance, you say clean the kitchen. Could you have like I don't know, some sort of counter in Home Assistant, or some sort of way of saying the last timestamp of when you clean the kitchen?
Yeah.
So then you can create an automation to then make a call back and say, you haven't cleaned the kitchen in a while, you might want to go and clean it. Is that possible?
Yeah. So I have sort of like planned out like a little thing that I'm going to do with it, like with a video
Okay.
for it. But yeah, you can do stuff like that. It gives you like a live map of where it cleaned as well. So it sends that, and you can actually view that in your Home Assistant. But yeah, you can. So say when you do like your automation call, however you trigger it, you can have that like add to a counter or something, and then add and reset as and when, and you can definitely do stuff like that.
So one automation I'm going to suggest in terms of robo vacuums is actually having them run. Well, I don't like the noise of the vacuum running, and maybe because I've got a sort of a cheap model, but I like the fact that
this thing's like a jet.
It does, and I actually like when we used to leave the house, more in the past. When you actually leave the house, you can use the zones and trigger your robot to start cleaning. So then it sort of takes care of the cleaning while you're not there, and as soon as you come back, if you come back and it's still cleaning, it sends the return to base. So I think Mark's got a little bit of a technical issues, but anyway, he sort of would return back to base. So I think in that way, it sort of makes sense. At least for me, at least we don't have sort of disruptions and things like that. Mark, can you hear me? No, we can't hear you.
Yep. Sorry. There we go. Can you hear
There
me
you
now?
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just talking about the zones, the fact that when you come back from wherever you've gone and the vacuum is still running, you can just send it back to base. So you come back and its stuff is clean and you don't even know it's done its business.
Hmm.
So you might just get a notification like, okay, empty. You need to empty the bin or whatever.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I have. There's an automation then where it detects if both me and the wife are both out. It will start doing its thing then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. So
Can you
you're
hear
going
me
to be
okay
making a
again?
video about it then, or the all the automations you use, or
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
expect
So
this? Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of things that I'm gonna do with that. But I'll save those for when they come out. But yeah, it'll be showing off how I've got it set up, what I use for my particular automations, that kind of a thing. But yeah, it's
Cool.
interesting. I do have like a good idea for it. It's actually similar to what you've said about how it's going to know when to empty and stuff like that, because that is something that kind of annoys me about it, is that it can't say like I'm full or whatever.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned with the Husky, the other day, like it had just overflowed, nobody had cleaned it out. And we went out, came back, and then went out again. And the robot was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go clean again." And it kind of like when it gets full, I think it had like hoovered up some of like the kids' toys. So it was full, and then it was just kind of like it was like chucking out like a trail of hair behind it. So
Yeah. But you're gonna love the vacuums, right? You know,
oh yeah,
it takes care of
convenience.
80% of that task, and once in a while you gotta do it manually. But I think it is really good, and they're coming down in price actually nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
which is also really good. So Marco, then what triggered you to start a channel then? Yeah, I think you started a few weeks ago, right? And
Yeah, it's
you've had
literally January
a big
1st.
following already. I mean, if you haven't already, check out his videos and check out his channel, subscribe. But
Yeah,
you've had
subscribe.
a good feedback from the community. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I literally started January 1st, and my sort of motivation behind it was I was just helping out on the forums and like on a few of the groups and stuff like that. And I'm a software developer, so I'm constantly making bits of software and stuff, and just enjoy making these things to help people. So when you come up with a solution, or you fix something or create something, and it helps somebody, like that's like a nice feeling. So that's like one motivation. But also, I'm just like really passionate about technology, and I love it when you show someone something for the first time, and it's that like wow factor. Like say like just that robot vacuum, like people that haven't seen that, and if they come round, well, not come round because no one's coming around with COVID, but you know what I mean. When people come around and they see that and they're like, wow, you've got like a robot that does that, or stuff like that. Another really cool one which people like to see is like VR, things like that, like when people have never seen like new technology, or just different technology. It's nice for them to experience that, and then you get them interested in it, and just updating people, getting people using modern things.
yeah,
So yeah, I
absolutely.
just want to be helpful. And yeah, I started the 1st of January. I'd put out a post on the Home Assistant forums, and yeah, there was lots of people messaging me saying like, "Hey, I'm new to this. I've just started, or I've got all this stuff from Christmas. I'm going to like follow you and hopefully learn a thing or two." And then yeah, I've had like good feedback so far, and people have seemed interested in what I've been doing. I actually got my first 1,000 views on a video today, so that's
Oh, that's
a
good. Well
milestone.
done, well done, well done. And what was the video that got the 1,000 views?
I think it was one of those. It was my Raspberry Pi SSD install for the quick version. So yeah.
It's good. And how? And this is something that I was trying to think, and I cannot remember the moment in time that I found Home Assistant. Do you remember when you found Home Assistant and you sort of looked at it and then you sort of said, "Okay, yeah, I think this is what I want to use." Because I
Mm.
can't remember that moment for me.
Yeah,
And in the chat, let us know when was your moment when you found Home Assistant and you thought, "Yeah, I'm gonna use it." if you do use Home Assistant?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I was actually creating my own bit of software that kind of works similar to Home Assistant. It's nowhere near like has as many features or stuff. So it was just something that I was writing myself, and it would, like trigger your lights on and off. It had like a small amount of presence detection. Was that me then hitting the mic? Sorry. I just slapped it. Yeah. So I started creating my own bit of software to do that kind of thing. I could connect to a bunch of APIs and just do some very, very basic things. And when I started doing that stuff, I was like, there must be like some kind of tool that's like, collected a bunch of APIs together and, made this integration stuff a lot easier, because I was just writing it all myself, and I'd get something to work and then I'd break something, or then I could do this one thing and not something else. And I just started like browsing around. I was using IFT as part of my program for some of the calls I couldn't connect to and do. And then, I just stumbled across this Home Assistant, and it was when Home Assistant was way younger than what it is now. And I set it up and I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, but it was before you could do all of the like how the dashboard works now. It's like very easy to do the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was sort of that simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was actually using Home Assistant then in like joint with my program, because I could do like my web calls and the webhooks and stuff, like just bouncing off Home Assistant. So I actually had Home Assistant running, but without using the front end to it.
Oh, cool. So you could build some sort of custom components, because I always look up to the guys that put the time in building these custom components in Hacks, the Home Assistant community store. So I don't know what language they write them in. Are they like written in Python then?
Yeah, it depends. Python, JavaScript. It depends what kind of thing they've done, if they've made something front end or something back end. It is kind of on my to-do list to try and make something, but I haven't really got like a use case at the minute, just because there's so much there already. There's not been anything really where I've had to be like, oh, what can I add to this? Or again, back to the robot vacuums. The one that I had before this, there's no integration for it, and it's not like there's no sort of support.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been one that before I sent it back, that would have actually been one that I tried to create myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gone now, so there'll be no need for that. But yeah, I maybe I will give that a go at some point this year if I can find something
a use case.
Yeah, or maybe just have a go at creating, like, I don't know, like a simple custom card or something like that.
Because that would be quite interesting to actually know the behind the scenes of how you actually can get involved with the project itself, Home Assistant itself, and also how you can get involved with the custom components. And certainly that would be interesting to also document on video for us to understand how much actually work goes into building a custom component, but also get supporting it, and then you the bug fixes and obviously there's going to be some APIs that are going to change in the background that you're going to have to circumvent. So it will be interesting to find that out. I did a video recently comparing if this then that and Home Assistant, which cannot be compared for sure, but from someone really basic, someone that knows nothing about smart home tech and just wants to say, or how can I turn this bulb on? I just want to turn a bulb on or the heating on. I want to press a button. And comparing the two and seeing the time delay, like for example, for lights would be a killer, because the if you have a motion sensor, like I have one over there, then the light would just never turn on. You would be like, what's going on? Is it working? And you'll probably go to the wall and just toggle it. In the meantime, so to see it actually in reality, because from a technical point of view, we understand the differences, right? One's going through the cloud and one is local. So we know why it's faster. But actually seeing it in reality, and also seeing, I didn't do a reliability test. It was just a few speed tests, but I know because I tried IFT years ago, It wasn't reliable at all. It would work maybe once in a while. It would work. That's not sustainable. And now they've also changed the pricing model, and you can only do free, isn't it? So it's like it's just killed it completely. But I love this solution, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can to get stuff out of the cloud and have it all interacting locally.
Yeah, I've used IFT quite a lot. As I said, with that little program, it was called Amy, and it just stood for All Marks Information. And that program, I was using IFT and the Life 360 component, and I was using that to sort of get my sort of geolocation to trigger stuff. So I think I still have the pro version, but I've just not used it that much recently. There's not been a need to, or
seems like Chris was saying it's been exceptionally slow and hit and miss for him, which I would agree. And Chris is also saying, I don't know who uses that with high availability stuff, because either I'm doing it wrong or it doesn't work. Yeah, I agree. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. There's one use case I have for IFT left, which is basically I have a Fitbit scale, and then it sort of syncs into Apple Health, and it syncs the reading. That's it. And I use the free version for that. And there are a few little things like if you're into social media and you want something, you post on Facebook and then it automatically mirrors to Instagram or whatever, maybe that could be useful, because but not for home automation, right? More for these other little tasks here and there. So that's what I would think would be just a limited use case of it.
Yeah, again, back on the robot vacuum. It's coming up a lot this year.
It's your favorite, the robot vacuum.
Yeah, it's gone now, so I talk about it all the time. So with that software that I'd written, I was using IFT. One sort of little, it wasn't the best way of doing things, but it was just convenient for that particular thing. Is when that robot would go out, it would like do its IFT request, and it would create a Dropbox file. And in that file, then there'd be like a log to say like, I went out and cleaned this thing and cleaned for this long. And then I had like a console application running in the background on the server then that would like just scoop up that and then chuck that in a database. And then you could get like some pretty graphs and things like that. To see
you can graph stuff out. Okay, cool, interesting. And where was that hosted? You had
just in my house. Yeah.
Do you have like a home server? What do you use to host these little applications?
Yeah, so that was just running on my little home server that I have. And it was just basically like a C# console project, just checking for a new file from Dropbox just periodically. It wasn't something that needed to be live or anything, and there was no benefit to anyone else other than me, just to see like a little graph, so I could be like, oh yeah, you went out today, or you had to clean so many times, or
Actually, while I was doing the comparison between you two, there was a part that I wasn't sure if to include it in the video or edit it out, and at the end of the day, I edited it out, so no one's seen this part of the video. But I was actually comparing, it was sort of behind the scenes. I was comparing actually how you actually build them. So, you can build a scene with the UI very easily in Home Assistant. And, if this and that, their strong point supposedly is quick to build. It's easy to build. But then I found myself, is like, once I built it in IFT, I'm like, how do I turn it on? Because I used the button widget, and I was like, I'm pressing this thing and it's not turning on, nothing's happening. And I think I'm not doing this right. And it took me a while to understand that the widget needed to be on the or iOS device, whatever device you have. And then you had to tap on it, and it was cumbersome. Whereas in Home Assistant, once you create the scene, you have a little play button there, and it's just click it. That's it, job done. So even the actual creating the scenes or automation of what you're trying to do isn't that difficult at all using the UI with Home Assistant. It's just that I think as Home Assistant grows and more people know about it and it becomes a bit more mainstream, then this could be a clear win. It's going to be easier for people to find it. And I think the more content we create and the community grows, we can push out the message more and get people on board.
Yeah, I think the Home Assistant community, especially for me so far, just being so new to everything, everyone's sort of just so friendly and, you know, like just giving you feedback or like suggesting things or like a couple of things that if I've done something, they're like, that's cool. Do you know you can do this thing, oh, this thing this way, or, you know,
Yeah.
so that just nice suggestions, and yeah, it's very, very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, long-term goal is to a really cool experiment would be to take someone that's not technical at all, maybe not even that interested in home tech, and try to see how long it takes one of us to teach them to get up and running. So it could be for
That'd
me
be
an
a cool social
experiment, right?
yeah.
It would be like take, I don't know, different age groups or whatever groups you want to pick, and just say, how easy is it for them to get up and running, so install it? How easy is it for them to run it, integrate stuff, troubleshoot it, keep it going, read a lot, understand when things break? And I think then that will be quite interesting to see, because I think from our point of view, as we're coming from both software developers, engineers in some sort of way, and I think a lot of people that use Home Assistant are come from a technical background. And let us know what you guys do for a living if you want to share it in the comment section. So it's like, if people that are not technical at all, are they starting adopting it because of all of the new features? Like, we're getting more and more UI, drag and drop, brains.
Cool.
Is that really bringing in new people that were not into it before?
I think one of the main ones what does attract people is that you can go from having all these 10 different apps and services and stuff and just have it all in one place, one UI to do it all, and that's a big one for lots of people. Even if you're not technical minded, just, you know, put in that effort of watch a couple of videos, get your dashboard set up, you know, just even in some basic way, and then, you know, you can tweak it after. But having everything in one place is like a big attraction for people, I think. And then there's just so much you can do, like the automations, all the scripts you can write. It's just so much easier. I mean, you've got your Echo ones and your Google ones, the routines that you can do there, but it's just like a whole another level when you're doing it in Home Assistant, just because you've got more power and more access.
Yeah, you got a lot of control, and I feel that people now with the new hardware solution that they've come out with, so they've got Blue, so that is sort of a hub that you get, and then that sort of has Home Assistant pre-installed on it, so skips that part of having to do Raspberry Pi SD card flashing, which might already put people off, maybe. And then sort of they buy this thing and then they just plug it in.
Out-of-the-box solution, yeah, and just plug
it in. You've got auto discovery, so you got a lot of things. More and more things are working outside of the box. So you just click, and then it actually pre-populates the dashboard. And then you go off, and you can start understanding what you want. If you think they are very expensive, I'm not an expert in these custom solutions, but a few years ago they were quite a thing where, AV installers will install smart homes in homes, especially if they're building, let's say, luxury homes, right? And then they would have these tablets to control things and the fancy, UI and all that stuff. You can do that with Home Assistant. So it's the thing. So we got Brian Smith. Oh, okay, cool, man. So Brian's saying, I can understand how you say it's so easy. It's not easy, and this is quite a good point. So I think this is because we come in it from our lens of software
how we look
developers. So Brian, if you want to let us know your experience on it, then that will be cool. There are certain things which for sure are not easy, like the Nest integration, which is so difficult. I've made a few videos. I know Chris has made a few videos on it, and there's a high number of people commenting and jumping on Discord for help. So the Nest integration is a complete disaster. If you haven't got a Nest and you don't like setting it up, don't get it.
Stay away from it.
I would just say stay away from it. If you know, if you don't know how to use the command line, you don't understand few concepts like that. And even I struggle to do it. I couldn't get it to work, and I thought I could have get it to work. So for sure, Nest is a bit of a disaster in that sense. That integration. So
with I'll jump in there with some of the content that I've been trying to put out so far. I have been trying to cater for sort of both sides, so people that are new, and then also people that want to just get on with setting something up. They just want to read the thing, read the title, and be like, yeah, I want to do this. So that's where I've done the quick installation guide. So that's more, people that have done this kind of thing before or are more advanced, they can just say, yeah, I know how to do that stuff. And, especially with the YouTube chapters, you can just pick the part you want and jump to that. And then I've done the sort of longer ones, which are a bit slower paced, to just try and explain things like in a bit more a slower step by step, just to help with that. So yeah, it can be quite daunting, and it's not as easy as like what we say, but it is definitely easier than it was, like say Home Assistant like a few versions ago.
Indeed. So Chris is saying the integration is good and the setup of the Google side is hard. And then he was saying
the Nest integration.
Yeah. Give Alan some credit. So I think clarifying that Google's made it difficult. It's nothing to do with Home Assistant's side of things, because you need to go to the and enable the smart device management API. You need to go do a whole series of things. You need to pay $5 non-refundable first of all, and then you have to do so many other things to get it up and running before then you can use Home Assistant to put it in. And once you put it in, it works. And I think they released it a month ago, and they're every release they're iterating on it, and they're including more things, and they improving the documentation a lot. So one thing I found with the Home Assist documentation is don't think it's static, because I thought I looked at it once and I was saying something missing here, and then
it evolves.
Day after, I went back to it. And I was like, whoa, there's screenshots, there's FAQ, Q&A. So even the documentation is evolving as we go. But yeah, Google's made it so difficult. But I can compare that with another manufacturer, Tado. I have these radiator valves, right, which you've probably seen in some of my videos, and they do thermostats also. And that integration is just auto discovery, click, done. It's like 2 minutes, 1 minute, whereas Nest is going to take you a couple of hours, and that's if you get it right. If you get it right. So if you've already got it, it's worth trying to integrate it in, I think. But if you can pick, maybe you can pick something different. I don't. Do you use a thermostat, Mark? What do you use? Do you use Nest?
No, I don't know. I was going to say, how do you find those Tado valves? Do they work quite well for you?
So the Tado valves, I bought them during the Black Friday sale, and so in the UK we have radiators. So I know that everyone in the world has radiators, and we have something that's called a TRV, which is I think it's thermostatic radiator valve, something. I don't know what TRV stands for, but basically it's a thing that controls the flow of the water inside the radiator. So it basically makes it cooler or warmer depending on the temperature you want to achieve in the room, and it has a temperature sensor. So with that in Home Assistant, it comes as a climate entity, and that integration was super simple and working fine. I've got 3, 1 to install, 2 already installed, and I just set the temperature. Now there are 2 downsides that I found out after a month. One, if you have a small kid, the kid can unscrew the valve, take it apart, and then underneath there's a battery, and the battery is not screwed. So basically, someone could, theoretically, someone could steal your valve and take it out. If you have kids, that's something you need to think about. And the other one was around the window detection system. So there are a lot of other features like geofencing, window detected open, and stuff like that that you can turn on, turn off. Now I don't use them because it's integrated in Home Assistant. I can do all of that in Home Assistant. I don't need it to do it on its own. But I think you need to pay for those features, if I'm not wrong, and that's where they sort of make some of their money back.
Is this paying directly to Tado? Is it?
I think you pay Tado for like a pro version of, and that enables some of these smarter features like geolocation and stuff like that, which it's not necessary if you're using a Home Assistant and other strategies.
So are they like kind of locked behind a paywall then, these extra features?
Yeah.
Or are they just like extra services that I don't know, maybe those things would benefit you if you weren't using Home Assistant or something like that?
Yeah.
Like if you just bought them just out of the box, use them. I can imagine Geo.
Yeah, if they were like exactly, if they were like out of the box, and yeah, you only had that, yeah, it would work fine, and you might consider paying for it. But as we've put the effort into setting up Home Assistant, it's sort of worth thinking about that and seeing how you can integrate it in.
So okay, Brian's replied there.
Brian's replied. Cool. So let's pop him up here. So thanks, Brian, for the comment. So just retired and taking up the challenge. Installed on Pi 3. Okay, it's the UI that's the issue. Okay, so is that more dashboards?
Yeah. So is that like with your dashboards? Is it the sort of the layout of things? Is that where what you're referring to? That can be quite tricky, but with some of the updates that are coming out to Home Assistant, like Zach's new the drag and drop and the resizing of the windows, that's going to make that stuff like a lot easier. And they're adding more so that you can do more within the GUI itself without having to go in and write some YAML or any code really. So that makes that a little simpler. It's more intuitive for new people. Hey, Zach's here. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach. Nice to see you, man. So we're just talking about UI, and we have one of the UI experts jumping on here. But I agree with you. I think it's so, in my opinion, the UI has so many options. You sort of don't know what to do unless you have some sort of sense of UI UX. So UI means user interface, UX user experience. So there's a sort of the sort of terminology that we use. So I'm not too sure. Even I just pre-populate something and I think it doesn't work really well. The interesting
Zach heard UI and he appeared.
He said UI. Yeah, indeed. So the also thing is that the mobile app, whatever works on your mobile app, something that you need to bear in mind with design. So the basics, what works on a desktop might not work on a mobile app. So, or an iPad, or depending on what you have. So that also can come into consideration. So let's see what Zach says. We also got Chris. There's a bit of creativity and thought required to build what you want. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, so,
go ahead.
I was going to say, how do you usually go about designing your dashboards? Like in terms of the device, do you have like one dashboard that you use for everything, or do you use like separate ones for separate devices, like say your tablet and then one for your phone? How do you usually go about that?
Well, I'm completely need to redo it. I need to redo it, right? And soon enough. And I think also Zach saying the generated UI soon will be 100 times better. That's something I'm looking forward to also. So I've got to the point where I'm preparing Home Assistant to do the big rollout. So the big rollout is going to be when I start getting my wife using it actively. So I've installed Home Assistant on our phone. I'm tinkering with it, but when I release, say go live with the whole thing that, not just I use it. I'm thinking that I need to build a dashboard UI that's going to work for her. So as far as I understand, there's because, like, for example, I want the whole admin thing. I want to see everything, but maybe I just want a reader. I don't want to tinker with the whole aspects, like, I don't know, server speeds and network speeds, all that stuff. No one cares about, apart from a few people. Right. So I think you can customize it based on whoever has access. So based on the user, you can say, oh, he sees this dashboard. And then what I want to do is I want to get one of these, not sure if you got to get an iPad or something. And then I'm going to have the view that any guest can use. So my second goal, so first rollout, family, and then second rollout is going to be guests, when eventually we'll have guests again. To someone comes in the house and they say, oh, I need to do X, Y, and Z. What do I do? Tap this, tap that. Here you can put the music on, or here you do the heating, and even give them a tablet that they can use as a guest. So this used to be like a guest room. We used to have like, we say lodges, but people that come maybe stay for a month, students that stay for a month to come and learn English. They'll come from abroad, and just imagine you gave them this, you had a whatever Fire tablet, and you say, here, if you need to control the home, but if you want to restrict it to things that you don't want to give your guests full control of, so you want to allow them to do certain things. That's one of my projects for this year. That was a long-winded answer, Mark, but I hope you...
Yeah, no, yeah, you covered it all there, yeah. Yeah, so I sort of have like a similar thing there. I did recently actually try and get my wife, like, I was like, that's one thing that I've also enjoyed about like starting doing YouTube and like the forum posts and stuff, is that like when you speak to people, it's like-minded people. So you'll create something or do something, and people want to see it, or they enjoy it as well. Just like-minded people. Because I mean, I'll create something, or I'll make some nice UI to say like turn the lights on and off, or whatever, and I'll show my wife, and she'll be like, yeah. There's just she doesn't get it. But I tried getting her, like I made her a little dashboard, and I showed her like, you can add this thing here, do that, like, because she wanted a display where she could say see certain cameras and just be able to click certain lights, and she just wanted that. So I did that for her, and I showed her how to change it, and she just like nodded. But,
yeah.
Nah.
I'll tell you the thing that I failed so far. I'm nowhere ready, because actually my wife, 15 minutes before the live, she told me, you need to go downstairs to turn the lights off. And I said, really? I need to go downstairs and turn the lights off? I can do it through sitting down on my computer, right? I can just turn it off from, probably she's listening from next door, what I'm saying. I could just turn it off from my computer using Home Assistant. And she's like, really? Even the downstairs kitchens, you can turn them off? I'm saying, yeah. Haven't you seen my video? Or you don't watch my own videos then? I say, my wife doesn't watch my own videos. How can I actually get people to watch them? So that sort of means that...
Same issue.
so what it means is what's in my brain, and maybe a lot of the time what's in the brain of the person that builds the system. I'm not saying that guys always build the systems. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if whoever builds the system, they got in here, but then they're not thinking about what are not explaining everything to everyone. You have things happening in your home, but people might not know what's going on. So the more you get into automations that don't even require you to toggle anything, things just happen in your home, and people get freaked out. What's going on? Or Google started saying something to me, and this thing started saying the fridge is too warm, and what a garage door is open. People feel intimidated by the whole thing. So I think there is a question up here from Live Art Rainbow. She could pull it up. So thanks for the question or comment. How secure can be using the ESP H266 or 32, either using ESP Home or MQTT? So Mark, do you want to try and tackle?
Yeah. So in what sense are you using them? What are you building with them? Who was that? Live Art Rainbow.
Yep.
Yeah. What are you using them for? What are you doing with them? Are you like creating some kind of sensor or? or what. But yeah, they're local, and you set them up sort of. They run off your Wi-Fi, so they should be sort of internal only. Have you got a use case? Sensors, okay. I don't know. I'd say that they are pretty secure. When you build them, they are kind of locked down with your API key.
But we're talking about secure in terms of getting hacked, or like fire hazard, or so. Yeah, if we got everything smart and jumping in is. You said that can definitely be secure if you use the username and password, and also use TLS for encryption on the broker. Encryption is a bit of a kill if you're using them locally. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Lewis from Everything Smart Home is the network engineer. He has a network background, if I'm not wrong. If I remember correctly from the video. So I'm going to probably trust what he says on this one. Let me just glancing over to see if we missed any questions. We got Mache saying he's moving to a new apartment soon and will do home system from scratch. It's good. I think a lot of people are doing home system from scratch, right, nowadays.
Yeah, I had like a big influx when I started of people messaging me just saying that they've just discovered it. And again, what I was saying before about how you have all these apps and things. So people will have got loads of smart home stuff for Christmas, and then having to go to one app to turn your lights on, and another one do your heating, and another one check your cameras.
Yeah, I did a video about this. It got 20 apps when I bought a new iPhone, and it was downloading all of the apps. It's like, I got 20 smart apps. Good God! Hopefully, thank God, I'm not using them anymore, and I've got a bunch of apps left, and then I really want to get to Home Assistant only and just get rid of all the other ones. So I think we missed quite an interesting one. Zach's wife also does not care about Home Assistant. So apparently it's a common thing.
Yeah.
It is not. It's not unique.
I will say they will be the first ones to notice when something doesn't work. So yeah, it's a wife thing.
And I have a little network experience, and I'm not sure about that, but certainly more than I have. So that's also quite interesting. So, Mark, let us. What are your plans for upcoming smart home gadgets? Is there any gadget that you got your eye on going forward? What are you keen on?
There's some new sort of camera stuff that I want to look at. I definitely want to just upgrade my Echoes and things around the house as well. Like the whole multimedia stuff that needs a bit of a revamp in my house. And there's a few like crazy like new gadgets coming out. I think when I spoke to you the other day, you actually mentioned one of them. Do you know that new Ring drone?
The thing, the drone up. Security one, yeah.
Not for like any, like, I mean, I imagine my dog would just instantly destroy that, but like just as like a little like a sort of gimmicky thing, I think it'd be quite cool to have a play around with that. Yeah, Zach's reply there as well.
She always complains, but never is happy when something works. Okay, we're not going to go into that detail, but I appreciate that. I think Zach's got a question. Have you all done anything with changing an existing alarm system like alarm.com to be something that Home Assistant can use? Okay, so I can approach this topic. So I had but there was an existing alarm system in this home when I purchased it. The previous owners had it, and none of the gadgets, motion sensors, anything were able to work with Home Assistant at all. So basically, as far as I understand, I did a video about doing DIY, setting up a DIY alarm system, reusing things you already have. So it's more of a hack, because if you already have sensors that do motion, and you already have a speaker, and you already have cameras, and you could sort of use the Home Assistant panel to then bring it all together and create some sort of alarm system. However, a lot of some comments I got were like, well, this is not really a professional system because it isn't the best way is to get a professional system and then integrate that into Home Assistant. I think there's like there are a few vendors that do that. I think maybe in your example, because you're building a home from scratch, it's worth getting some professional system while you're running wires anyway. But anyone retrofitting, so if you're renting, you can just trying to get a few gadgets and create your own system.
Yeah, so I've not done anything really sort of with the alarm sort of stuff. Where I live, so I live in Wales, we're like pretty sort of low crime, all that kind of thing.
You say that now.
Yeah, I say that. Someone will be outside tonight. So I've not done any of that, but hopefully sort of end of this year now, I'll be getting a new house, and I'll be starting that all from scratch.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and that'll be like a brand new smart home setup, just doing everything how I say it's going to be everything how I want it. Like,
oh, okay. So, hopefully she's not rewatching this then, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. No, she'll be choosing the furniture and the decor, and then I'll get to do whatever I want with the smart home. So I'll probably go for like alarms and that kind of stuff. But I've, similar to what you said there, Gio, I've like retrofitted things. So just like combined sensors and things like that. Just to make it own with things that you have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just flexible. I mean, it just proves that you can do so many things with Home Assistant and use your gadget for multiple purposes. So yes, it turns on lights, but it also can be used for, detecting intruders and stuff like that. So I think we've got Jeff saying that's IT as a whole. Not too sure exactly. Probably it was relevant to what we were saying. We've got Mache. I was learning before how to work with Home Assistant. Now I know what I need and how to set up. Then we'll easier and quicker to set up new Home Assistant and clean and all set up. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying is that because the first time you did it, you were just not sure what to do. It sort of became a bit of a mess, and then it was just easy just to start over. If you are migrating and you want to keep a system, you can always use snapshots, right? So you can create a snapshot and then restore it in case you want to start from somewhere. Maybe it's always good to keep the snapshot of your old system before you completely throw it away anyway. So we got Chris, I think he's saying connected. So is that a brand for alarm systems? Is that what you use, Chris? And it's let's see, Zach. Problem is they install alarm.com regardless. Oh, okay. Gonna hack it to move to something Home Assistant can use. Yeah, so hopefully you can integrate it. That'll be an interesting one. So just saying, no one compliments when tech works, only when tech fails. Absolutely. This is people take things for granted, even performance. If people get used to performance, they just want it. Became your SLA. It's like a service level agreement, right?
Yeah, they just notice when it doesn't work, but yeah.
Okay, Chris saying he doesn't use it.
Is that the connected sensors?
Yeah, but he would like to. And Zach saying, yeah, that connected can retrofit the existing sensors. Okay, so that's good. So I like retrofitting stuff because it's the easiest way to start something. And sometimes nothing is better. Something is better than nothing, maybe. So not having at all any alarm system at all might not be the best idea. And maybe while you're saving up to get a professional system, or you can afford for one monitored system, then you can do something relatively easily with Home Assistant if you got a couple of sensors around, and you can then expand or then integrate stuff later in it. So.
Mm-hmm. Got a reply from Brian there.
Brian, he's saying, thank you, hit the nail on the head regarding equipment. I have a box of smart stuff that I need to install. Then the UI may make more sense. Yeah.
I would definitely say get those devices added in, get them like working within Home Assistant, and then once they're there and they work, like say if it's just a light, once you've got it turning on and off or whatever, you can play around with the UI then and make something that works for you. Like if you want like a giant button, or if you want like a little switch, or whatever suits your purpose and need, really.
So, Mark, so when you now that you're a Home Assistant user and you're invested in it, like we are, when you looking at new tech, do you go to the integration page? That's what I find I'm doing. First thing I do is if I want to try a new something in the light category, I always go to Home Assistant to see, first of all, does it connect? And if it does connect, second thing I do is always I look at the type of connection it makes. Is it a cloud connection or is it a local connection? Are you found yourself doing that too?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. Definitely whether it's local and if there is something existing in Home Assistant. If it doesn't exist in Home Assistant, then the next thing I would do is probably jump on the forums, have a browse around, see if people are talking about the same thing, or if anything custom's been made, like in the Hacks store, anything like that. And then if there's nothing there, then I'll also have a look at the APIs and see how open that company is, or if it, if the device can be flashed or repurposed with something else.
Yeah.
Just to see if I can get that in. But definitely now, being so invested in it, I'd always check now if it is compatible with Home Assistant.
Cool.
Just
I think Chris is jumping off. So Chris, if you don't know, Chris has got a YouTube channel. Go check out his channel also, and he's got quite cool, interesting content. So, Chris, enjoy the rest of your afternoon because he's in the US. Cool. Yeah, I think Zach's sort of following on what you're saying. There are a ton of good custom integrations as well. So with the custom integrations, the question I have is, how do you know how stable it is? Is there like a rating system, like you have with apps, for example, like your 1 star or 5 star? Because you look at the custom component, you say, yeah, it might be great. Or what if it isn't? And then you've already bought the product and you're sort of stuck with something that's not doesn't integrate well.
Yeah, there's not like a rating system. I don't know if you can comment any more on that, Zach, if there's any plans for anything like that. But usually it's just a case of having a look at how active the creator is on GitHub, how often the stuff comes out, and
good idea, yeah.
what reviews and stuff they are. So like, say, jump on the forum, see if people are talking about this, or see if the creator of that thing has actually written a post or anything anywhere. That's usually how I go about it.
Yeah, cool. I think Zach's confirmed. Usually they have a forum post. Look at the history of the post, and that's a good call. So 2 takeaways are basically look at the forum post and look at the Git repository to see actually sort of when it was maintained last.
That's it. Yeah, when it was last updated.
Yeah, rating system would be something nice. That I'm looking forward to that. So that's something idea I think will be really good for new people. Some sort of rating system, and even on the official integration, so people, even the Home Assistant devs can figure out, oh, there's a lot of people that are giving us negative feedback on this integration. We need to work on it, or there's some sort of limitation, maybe, right? So.
I actually have a bit of a question for you, Zach. When a custom component's created, what's the process for getting it pulled into the sort of main core? Is there like a criteria it needs to hit, or how does that work? How do you go about getting your thing pulled in?
It's good. In the meantime, I'm gonna get some water. They actually started some fireworks here, and I was trying to think, what's this noise? There's some banging going on outside. We just said a safe area, and there's people banging. So cool. So, what custom components are you running then, Mark?
Ooh, I'd have to look at my thing now. I think I've got quite a few. One that I would think of straight off the top of my head would be I used one for the Govee strip lights. I don't know if you've seen those before.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an integration for that that I use, and that's a custom one. And it just lets you hook into that API to, again, just do what you do with normal strip lights, like change the color, turn it on and off, just that kind of a thing. But that's a custom component.
I use the mini media player, which is one of my, I think, sort of the player. So yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy that a lot. And I know there's a Unified Protect integration I wanted to try out, but I've never actually got around doing it. But there's a lot of stuff there. I think Zach replied to your question. Let me pop it up. So I'm not 100% on the full process. Players have to be okay. And he goes on and says, being a custom component first helps out because if it's done in a way that goes with the core repo, style, and code quality, then it can be merged straight over with minimum changes. So for the non-technical people, what this means is basically there's a copy of the code base that then needs to be integrated. So the technical terms are normally up like pull requests. So you would basically you make the changes on a separate tree branch, and then you would go and say, okay, once they're all happy, then there's an approval process for them to actually go into home software in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Zach's saying the PRs are pull request to core with your custom integration code. So that would be very interesting, Zach, if you can pass the message on to the devs. It'd be actually cool to see how a code review works. I mean, more for the technical people. What's the process, and that might get even more people, involved. Whoever's got the skills to get involved in the project, right?
Another cool thing with custom components that I found with certain devices is, do you know how you were saying, like with those Tado ones, you had where there's these extra features, but you need to pay for them. Take the it's a TP-Link camera that I have. I think it's this C200. With the custom component for that, you can access some of the features that are for a different model of the camera. And you can access that on your camera without the other model. So you don't have to, whereas if you have to actually physically buy that better model for those features, but this custom component will unlock those features for you. And it's something as simple as like following the pan tilt zoom. It will follow someone around the room, whereas you can't do that by default.
I wonder if you can do that with that drone thing, the ring. You follow someone around the room. We'll see what we can do with it. We've got Jeff. He's saying Unifact Protect component is really nice. I think he's saying Unified Protect component is really nice. I'm enjoying it. Okay, cool. So I might look into that integration. I'm used to standard camera integration with the RSTPS stream, and that's how I use RT. I always get that confused, but basically the secure stream camera streams, and I use the camera integration for that. I never tried this version. And also, I think Zach's also saying having the custom component shows its history and quality.
I didn't get that.
Oops.
Could you try again?
Siri going off.
I've always got Siri going off for some reason. It's always fun.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. And seeing the history as well, you get like an idea of like when they've last done things, and usually as well they give like a little idea of things that they're going to add. So when you read a forum post, they'll say like, this is the stage it's at now. This is what I'd like to get doing. So, and they usually reply. So if you say, hey, I want this thing to also do this, you've got like a developer then that might make your wish.
Cool. You got everything smart. I'm saying UFI Protect Hacks component works very well. So we got 2 stamp of approvals on this custom component. So I gotta check it out. And also Jeff, apparently he is also having some issues with Siri. So I should have said that again. It's going to trigger off again. So so that's quite cool. What else, Mark, we could chat about in terms of future plans for? Do you want to talk about your channel, your smart home?
So future stuff for me. I sort of put out like a little rambly video yesterday, just sort of saying how I'd found my first week on YouTube. So for me, I think it's gone quite well. Like I haven't met anyone like physically, but like, you know, in the virtual sense, I've met a lot of people. I think I've helped quite a few people. I had like a ton of feedback on stuff. And then, yeah, in that video, I just sort of outlined things that I plan on doing. So I'm going to carry on with the Home Assistant's basic stuff. Get that stuff out, help people get started with Home Assistant and Smart Home. I also probably want to start like reviewing and talking about smart home products. So we'll get that vacuum in there.
Yeah.
And then I had a few people sort of message me just saying like, hey, you mentioned this particular word, like what does that terminology mean? So as like another little thing, I think I'll like maybe break down those videos. So one of them was, I can't remember what it was. It was like, what is SSL, or what is this, this keyword you've used, you didn't explain it. Like, can you tell me what that means, or why you do this certain thing? So an idea there was just to break down some of the like smart home lingo, if you like, just for people to understand. And that way as well, when I'm creating content, I can talk about these things. And then if you don't know what that word is, I don't know, maybe I could link that in there somehow. Yeah, it's basically, I just want to create content that's going to help people, basic and advanced, just every caliber of user, really. Just help them create things, improve things, fix things. Yeah, so that's my goal.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's striking the balance between the complete novice and the person that's new to Home Assistant but has a technical background, so will know what SSL, SSH, everything, that they will understand that. And then you got the other end where people might not say, he's going too much into, it's too basic. I had one interesting comment once was, I normally do code in my videos, tutorials. I don't do UI because that's sort of my preference. And people are saying your explanation is basic, but then you're using code. Why don't you use UI if you have a basic explanation? And then why don't you just use code if you're doing an advanced video? And I thought that was an interesting point of view, because if someone brand new, maybe code is a bit too intimidating for them even. So that's a good thing. Let's check the chat and see if we've got a few questions. I think we've got, we also got Zach. He's tuning out and needs to get back to work. Cool.
Thanks for tuning in, Zach.
Thanks for tuning in. And thanks for the likes and subscribe. That's always good. Build the community. We've got Jeff here. He's got a question. Thanks, Jeff, for your question. So this is a good conundrum. So what do you use to run Home Assistant on? So he's saying Unraid, Pi, Droid, Blue, Docker. There's so many options. Do you want to go first, Mark?
Yeah. So at the minute, my day-to-day Home Assistant is just running on a Pi 4. And that was just purely for convenience. I've been moving stuff around a lot, and I've actually had quite a few network issues. So for me, just having it on the Pi has been nice and simple. I've done a couple of different installation methods just for the Pi at the minute, but I do plan on creating some installation videos for those other setups, because with this sort of basic stuff that I want to do, I want it to be basic for like whatever you've got. So, I can target all these things. So if you're running it on Docker, your VM, Odroid, whatever it is, I'm going to like target all those things, because I've got the stuff to do all those. I don't have a Home Assistant Blue yet, but
I don't have Blue, and I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not. I'm not sure. I have Home Assistant running on the VM on my QNAP NAS, which just an hour ago stopped working, and I had to because what happens with that QNAP NAS? Well, that NAS I bought it years ago, and I run Plex on it. Home Assistant, run other things. It's getting max capacity, increase the RAM, but it's not cutting it. And the problem happens that it reboots, and there's like a firmware upgrade, and then the lights don't turn on anymore. So you sort of have to reboot it, and then I find that the Combi 2 stick has difficulty pairing with VMs. So you need do a little bit of tinkering. So maybe I need to set that up properly. So I did a video on a Pi installation also, but I want to try and reduce the number of things I have. So having on a VM for me is an ideal solution. Maybe the VM I'm running on is not great, but I'm also tempted with Blue. And we've also got, I think Louis just dipping out. So it's good to speak to you soon. And subscribe and like his channel also. It's awesome.
Nice to meet you.
And you see, you got a nice welcome. You got in the community. You meet
in the community.
Guys. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Cool, awesome. So we've got Jeff here. He's saying this week I had to ask the community that the sub data stream of an entity attribute was called. Okay, when you don't know what it's called, hard to Google for answer. Sub data stream of an entity.
So that's what my little thing that I was saying about there, where I'll create these little videos on these sort of keywords and hot topics, because they're, especially if you're doing Home Assistant, these like keywords are going to come up everywhere. So the idea then is, you can look up these keywords in like a short video format, say like 3-4 minutes, and like I can explain to you what it means, what it does, like depending on what it is. And that way you'll know then. And then when you watch a video, you'll be like, hey, I know what that thing is. I saw that video. It's this thing. So yeah, that was my little idea. So I think I'll give that a go and see how that goes. I asked a few people, like especially some of the newer people, and they said, that'd be something they'd really appreciate. So yeah, see how it goes.
I think that's a really good idea, Mark, and I'm looking forward to these videos. I'm also going to give a little bit of a preview of a video that's coming out this week that I made. I did a 30-minute challenge by picking a completely different home automation system with no research, nothing, just 30 minutes, and then trying to see what I got. So I did 30 minutes with OpenHab to see what I could do. And spoiler, not much in half an hour, even with the whole home system background and coming from a technical background. So I sort of proven to myself that even if you're technical, if you don't know the lingo, it's not easy to get stuff set up. And it's not even to research it, because you don't know what to call. So they use like things and items, and they have a different terminology. They mean the same thing.
Yeah, I think if you go to
tried OpenHab before.
Yeah, I think if you go to another system, like another home automation system like OpenHab, I have dabbled with it in the past. If you go to that from, say, being so heavily invested to Home Assistant, you'll be thinking, you'll have your like Home Assistant hat on, so you'll be thinking how Home Assistant does it, and then you'll not like it, because you'll have your mindset for how things should work, and it will be different. But I guess that's the same with any system. I think Home Assistant is more user friendly. But again, I might be more biased now because I'm like heavily invested.
I actually would like to prove that, because I can't do the same thing with Home Assist, because I know what to do, and I would sell it in half an hour. I could probably get something set up and running, working relatively quickly. In that video, I installed OpenHub on my Mac, so it's running localhost. So I didn't have dedicated software. We just literally just to see what happens. But if you had like a Home Assistant Blue or a Pi already configured, and you plugged it in, you can set it up very quickly with Home Assistant, and the one that Zach mentioned earlier, the pre-populated UI. You have at least a UI with a dashboard. And if you integrate some basic things, then you can start doing things. With Home Assistant, it looks ugly at the beginning, but out of the gate, you get there. I think you get there quicker than OpenHub. I can't prove it, but I think that's my opinion.
Yeah, Zach did mention that that generated experience is also going to get better, so that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, and the pace of change is just tremendous with Home Assistant. You can see it just constantly release after release after release after release, and tendency also to start looking at the dates where the videos come up, because if the videos are a year old, it's likely that the information isn't accurate anymore. So there was one with Apple TV, and I made a video about Apple TV's new integration with I think it was 2012 or 2012.1, and they worked on it, and now it works with tvOS 13. Before, it didn't work with tvOS, so what was working before, and then it went to custom component, and then they fixed it. So that's sort of if you were to search it on YouTube or whatever, you wouldn't get the latest information. So this is good. Like that Nito Robo Vacuum, someone made a video about it 3 weeks ago. That was already out of date, because your video, it won't work. They would try it, it won't work. And this is the difficulty with the content creation and the videos, is that you need to stay on top of it to go back and redo things because it doesn't work anymore, or point them to a newer version of the same video. So that's something I found happening to my channel with Nest. Nest changed rapidly in a month. It went from something in Node-RED, custom thing, to actual official integration.
How have you got on with Node-RED now? I remember seeing your video a while back where you were sort of looking at dabbling with Node-RED. Have you taken up any more, or are you still rocking like your?
I'm still 100% in Home Assistant, but I'm committed to learn Node-RED. So I'm committed to learn it and to understand how it works, and potentially might do some Node-RED. So I haven't had the time, and I think one thing that is quite you can see easily is that you need the time set to learn, experiment, before you, or watch the videos before you can just jump in and go on Node-RED and just guess stuff out. Have you tried Node-RED before?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a hybrid setup. So I've got like a lot of automations, a lot of scripts, and then some Node-RED in there too. And it is definitely the case of like searching about, or like, just trying stuff, especially with Node-RED, drag and drop, see what works, see how you can improve it. I think definitely with Node-RED, there is a bit of an art to finding what's the most efficient way of doing things. But because you've got that whole node interface and you can just drag and drop things, I think you can rapidly develop and test things. One example that I've got for that is it was a 2-year Wi-Fi PIR. So it didn't have Zigbee, so it was Wi-Fi only, and the 2-year integration doesn't support that. So I did like a bit of digging around, and I found something on the forum. I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately, but I would do a video on this probably as well. But yeah, I used a suggestion there, and it was how you could access that. And I've used that PIR with Node-RED just to say, like, at a certain time of day, it will come on at a certain brightness and then not come on. Yeah, just Node-RED. Oh, we've got some more messages popping up here.
Cool. So we got Bo Wentz. I think his question, it's a big thank you for you, Mark. You can read it out.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Bo. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for the coffee. I'm glad I could help you out. Hopefully, you subscribe and I can help you out with more stuff.
Excellent. Brian, I think he's been doing some work on Spotify. So my 30-minute success, I got Spotify working on all my equipment in 20 minutes with help from the bearded tinkerer. Yeah, so he's got another YouTube channel, which I would recommend. Put in your subscriber list. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and you can't get more of it. I mean, there's always good, just good to have it there. It's always good to have it. But that's awesome. So I am in a dilemma about this, about which voice assistant between A and G to fully commit towards, because
they who must not be named.
I have Apple's, Google's, and Amazon's version of voice assistant. I've had them for years, and I can tell you our favorite, and it depends on what you're trying to do with them. But in terms of Home Assistant, I'm thinking, what's the easiest to use, and have you found any difficulties, or anyone else, with either or the two mainstream ones?
Was that for me, or was that like
it's for you, obviously? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else that wants a comment?
Yeah, so I'm heavily invested in the whole Echo ecosystem there. I have tried a few of the Google ones, and not that I've got anything against them. It's just that my household just kind of took off, and everything went to like Echoes and Fire TVs, and everything was Amazoned. But yeah, I found using them is very, very sort of, I wouldn't say straightforward. There's a bit of a learning curve with it, but once you've got that, doing things like just hooking into your routines or the text to speech, you can do quite a lot with it. I've got some good examples that I'll again be showing in some videos up in the future. But I'm heavily invested in the Echo side of things.
So how do you connect to it? Do you use Nabucasa, or do you connect to it yourself?
Yeah, so I'm using Nabucasa for mine. There is free ways of doing it, but as a developer as well, just that straightforward one-stop shop, like you literally set it up and it's active in a couple of seconds using Nabucasa, and you're sort of giving back to the developers there. So I've got this software and all these integrations and everything for free, and for literally a couple of quid, I get this extra way of accessing my home then, just for a couple of pounds, and that goes to the developers then, to help maintain this stuff.
Sure, the whole platform funds the whole budget.
So for me, that's worthwhile. There is plenty of ways that you can do it for free, doing your whole DuckDNS and all the other ways, but it's simple, and if you're happy to pay, and also you're giving back to the people that are creating this stuff that you don't have to pay for.
Yeah, it's an interesting project to do. Try and do it yourself. It's an interesting project, but time-wise, if you got to spend a couple of hours on it, it depends if you enjoy it or not. But I have Nabucasa, and I feel strongly support using it. It gives you few other advantages also, like accessing your Home Assistant from outside of your network without doing going into your router and doing, all sort of port forwarding stuff. And if you're not comfortable, you can probably make a mess of it and open up your whole house.
Yeah. The security side of it, you can hook into your Google and Echo stuff. You can access webhooks. And yeah, you can obviously get on it from anywhere, which is like the main thing. And you haven't got to do any of this faffing about with port forwarding. And
cool.
It's a simple solution.
Cool. So we give it another 5 minutes to see if we get a few last topics, a few questions. If you still got some questions, submit them now. And we'll carry on chatting regardless. I guess we could chat all night, but it's getting late in the UK, so we sort of we can wrap it up. So there was don't know if there was anything in particular I wanted to ask you about, but have you figured out a schedule? So when can we expect your videos? Is it going to be a set time? And have you thought about how many videos are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so no to the schedule. I haven't sort of thought of anything like that yet. I'm in sort of a bit of a transition period here with like the whole COVID and working around work, and obviously my wife's work and kids in and out of school and whatever. So just trying to balance it all at the minute is a bit of a challenge. Quite often I've done all the ones that I've done so far sort of later on in the evening when everyone's in bed. But no, I think I will try and lock something down and say get a couple out a week. Probably like key into like a set sort of thing that I'm going to do. So I've got the basic Home Assistant stuff, and then I want to do some of the more advanced automations, that kind of a thing. Some UI work. That little series I talked about, like doing the like the little explanations for things that are going to help you with other smart home and Home Assistant stuff, like just wherever you're going on the internet. And some like tech reviews and hardware installations. So that kind of a content. But yeah, I just need to lock something down.
Lock it down. Yeah. Cool. That's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to all of the content that you.
Have you got any advice for that? Like for like a good working schedule?
Whatever works for you. Whatever works for you, and whatever works for your audience. But yeah, I mean, from my selfish point of view, the more the better. In terms of this content, I'm always watching a lot of videos and also enjoy doing them. So it's cool. It's
for me, like that. It's like obviously a hobby and a passion of mine, and like sharing it, helping other people. Like Bo today, thank you again, Bo. Like obviously help them out, and they're supporters now, so that's cool.
Cool. We have got a question like about Rainbow. Do you guys integrating LoRa WAN with Home Assistant? I'm not familiar with that. Do you know what that is?
No, not something that I've used or integrated. Let's have a look.
Things network. Okay, so I'm Googling it now. No. So what is the like the unique selling point of this device? It's a sort of networking failover.
Like IoT type thing, is it? Or
it's low power. Yeah, okay. For a smart farm. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. It's like you have these devices in the field and you figure out, okay, I understand. I think I know what you mean. We're gonna have to dig into that for sure. I don't have a farm, so my garden is quite small. So, but I understand it's more for, I guess, for businesses So it's like the smart home, but it's smart business, applying IoT technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
think
So
I get it.
where I live here, there's obviously like lots of farmlands and stuff around. And there is actually a company that does something. I don't know if they're using that particular thing, but it could be something that I investigate because it is interesting tech. And they do that kind of a thing using those devices to like monitor stuff like out on the farm. Like I don't know exactly what, like the soil, checking it for like nutrients and all that kind of stuff, but they do that like around here. That could be something interesting to look into. But that's quite local to me as well.
Yeah, and if you're into that sort of stuff, there's the AWS conference, which I think you can watch online. So AWS is Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Web Services they have all this IoT branch of what they do, and in there's a lot of solutions, demos, and they showcase how these things work. So you could check out. I remember going to
Thanks, Brian.
one in London. Thanks, Brian. Cool.
Sorry,
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You can interrupt me anytime. Cool. So we've got time for one last question. In case if you got more questions, you can always find us. You can comment on this live stream, or you can jump on the Mark's channel and comment on one of his videos, and he can get back to you. Just to remind you guys, if you haven't already, you can support our channels by liking the videos and subscribing to both channels. We also have some of we've sort of talked about a few things, what's up and coming. But I think we're active in Reddit. You're active on Reddit and
yeah, all the popular social medias.
Yeah, so you can sort of find us a bit everywhere, and that's it really. So Mark, I just want to say it's been a pleasure having you today in this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you for getting me on. It's been like a great like sort of summary for my first week on YouTube, and like obviously a great way into the community. Like we've met a few of the sort of top dogs in the community today as well, so that's been quite cool.
So that's fantastic, and I wish you all the best, and hopefully I'll have you soon on the Smart Home Makers channel again in the future. And I want to thank everyone else for tuning in, for staying with us for nearly an hour and a half, and thanks for the interaction. And we just always enjoy this. And I want to say happy automating, and we'll see you in the next one. And stay safe. And enjoy the rest of the day. We've only got an hour left.
I'll just jump in now as well. Just again, Happy New Year to everyone as well. Thank you for all the support, advice, feedback, everything I've had this week. I know I've like mentioned it in like a whole bunch of videos, but it's been great like picking up and becoming part of the community. So thank you. I'll hopefully catch you in some of my upcoming videos.
Okay, guys. Bye. Bye, everyone.